Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, Wrap Top meets Bralette for a crochet fest of overlapping goodness. Texture included. Speaking of, no matter what your style, you're included in our plans. We have hundreds of modern crochet tutorials and patterns for all, with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 85 grams of yarn, and that's 190 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us how many whips you have in the works. I usually only have one at a time, but if you count editing and shooting, I have 2. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is made for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and I explain how to in the videos, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5mm hook. And for everyone, no matter what size we're making, we're all going to start with a chain 1 because we're starting with the point of our wrap. Once we have our chain 1, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And into that first chain, we're going to do an increase of 3 half double crochets. So yarn over, into that first chain, or into that chain that we blocked off, insert with 1 half double, insert into that same chain with a second, and insert into that same chain with a third half double crochet. So far, everyone's row 1 should have 3 stitches. Now let's get started on our row 2. So we're all going to chain 1 and flip, and row 2 is going to be a sedge stitch row. So our row 2 is going to be done very specifically, so all we're going to do is put 1 single, 1 half, and 1 double crochet all into that first stitch. So we flipped our work into that first stitch from our previous row, insert with a single, with a half, and also with a double crochet. Now once we have those 3 stitches, we're going to skip 1 stitch, and into the next we're going to do another increase of 3 half double crochets. So yarn over, into the last stitch, we're going to insert with 3 half doubles. There's 1, there's 2, and there is 3. Now that is our increase. We're always going to be increasing at the end of our sedge stitch row. Now every odd number row for this portion is going to be a half double crochet row with no increases and no decreases. So we should have all had a total of 6 stitches at the end of our row 2. So to get started on our row 3, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, leaving us with a total of 6 stitches. Now everyone's row 3 is complete. We should all have a total of 6 stitches. Now let's get started on our row 4. So chain 2 and flip our work. Now getting started on our sedge stitch row. Our first sedge stitch is always going to start with 1 half double or 1 double crochet unless stated otherwise. So what we're going to do is yarn over, and into that first stitch start with 1 half, and also into that first stitch with 1 double crochet. Right after that stitch, we're going to be skipping the following 2 stitches. Then into the next, it's going to be a single half double double. So we're going to skip 1, skip 2. We're always going to skip the following 2 stitches after we do a sedge stitch cluster, because the half double and double will count as those 2 skip stitches. If we work into any one of those, we will accidentally be increasing. So like I said, skip 1, skip 2. Into that next with a single half double and double crochet, and that is the end of this sedge stitch cluster. Now from here, since we're all working on a row 4, we should all have 2 stitches left. Into that last stitch, we're all going to do an increase sedge stitch, and how that's going to work is 1 single, 2 half double, and 1 double. So skip 1. Into the last stitch with 1 single, 2 half doubles, so there's 1, there's 2, and then a double crochet all into that same last stitch. Now at the end of everyone's row 4, we should have 9 stitches. This is going to be a 4-row repeat, and after we complete our row 4, we are all going to do a chain 3 no matter what size we're making, because we want the increase of this front panel to be pretty drastic. So right after our row 4, chain 1, 2, 3. Once we have that chain 3, we are going to block off that last chain and chain an additional 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. From here, put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So just starting with the yarn over, into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, insert with 1 half double, pull through 3, continue with 1 half double crochet into every chain, and also 1 half double crochet into every stitch to reach the end of the row. Now everyone's row 5 is complete. We should all have a total of 12 stitches for row 5. Getting started on row 6, or any even number row, we're going to chain 2 and flip. Now every even number row is going to be our sedge stitch, and the first sedge stitch is always going to start with 1 half double, 1 double crochet. So yarn over into that first stitch, starting with a half double, into that same first stitch with a double. After that first sedge stitch little cluster that we have, we're going to skip 1, skip 2, into the next with a single, half double, double, skip 1, skip 2, into the next, another single, half double, and double all into that same stitch. We're going to continue on with this sedge stitch until we all have 2 stitches left. We are at the end of our row 6. We should all have 2 stitches left. Now we're going to do our increase sedge stitch. So again, that is going to be skip that second to last stitch and into that last with a single, 2 half doubles, so there's 1, there's 2, and then also 1 double crochet all into that last stitch. And that's it. Our following row is going to be a half double crochet row with no increases and no decreases, so chain 2, flip our work, put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Everyone's row 7 is complete. We should all have a total of 15 stitches. Now we're going to do the last row in our 4-row repeat, which is going to be row 8, which is an even number row, so chain 2 and flip our work. Now we're going to do our Suzette stitches. So the first one is going to be a half and double into that first stitch, skip 2 stitches, then single half double double into that next stitch. Continue on with that sedge stitch till we all have 2 stitches left. We are all at the end of our row 8. We should all have 2 stitches left. Now just complete it with an increase sedge stitch. So skip that second to last and into that last with a single, 2 half double, and 1 double crochet. Now at the end of our 4-row repeat, which we should always end along the top right after sedge stitch row, we are always going to chain 3. That's going to be the same for every size. Block off that last chain, do an additional chain 2, then into that chain that we blocked off, start with our half double crochet row all the way down. Now all we're going to do from here is continue to repeat our 4 previous rows until we have a portion that can reach, placing our tail end that's roughly mid collarbone, till our work can reach across our chest to where we'd like the strap for the other side to be, so roughly where a bra strap or a tank top strap would lay, and we do want to make sure that the blunt end of our piece stays roughly where an underwire would sit. And I will meet you back right after an odd number row. So we are back. I have just completed the height of my front panel, and now from here we're going to get started on the underarm portion. Now I ended with a total of 15 rows. My width is roughly 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters, and the height that I have is just about 8.5 inches or 21 centimeters. Now what we're going to do from here is we're going to insert our stitch marker into the 3rd stitch from the top. That's going to be the same for everyone, no matter what size we're making. Then from here we're going to get started on the following row, which is our sedge stitch row. So do our regular sedge stitches, making our way all the way up until we have 5 stitches left right before our stitch marker stitch. Now we are back. We've made our way all the way down with our sedge stitch, leaving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches right before our stitch marker. Now what we're all going to do is a decrease of 4 double crochet. Now what we're all going to do from here is skip that next stitch and into that following, which is our 4th to last. We're going to yarn over, insert, pull through, 3rd to last, pull through, 2nd to last, pull through, and last, pull through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. From here, yarn over, pull through the first 5 loops, giving us 2 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our decrease. Now the following row is going to start with a decrease as well, so we're going to chain 2 and flip. And since this is our half double crochet row, we are going to start with a decrease of 4 double crochets again. So yarn over into that first stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, and next stitch, pull through again for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 5, yarn over, pull through 2, and continue to complete this row with 1 half double crochet into the rest of our stitches. Now just to do our decrease together once more, at the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, make our way back up with our sedge stitch, leaving 5 stitches. So my 3rd underarm row is nearly complete. We should have made our way back up with our sedge stitches, leaving the last 5 stitches, and now we're just going to close it off with a decrease of 4 double crochets again. So just like our previous rows, yarn over, skip that next stitch, and into that 4th to last stitch, pull through, 3rd to last, pull through, 2nd to last, pull through, and last, pull through, yarn over, pull through 5, leaving us with 2 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through 2. From here, continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until this height that we have right here is roughly 1 inch underneath our underarm, making sure that the blunt end of our piece is still staying roughly where an underwire would sit. Now I'll meet you guys back right after an even number row, and then we can finish up the back together from there. I am back. My underarm portion is now complete. I now have a total of 20 rows. My width is roughly 7 inches or 18 centimeters. Now we're just going to do our still sedge stitch and half double crochet rows until we reach mid back, but we aren't going to be doing any more increases or decreases, so the following rows are going to be pretty simple. The next row is a half double crochet row, so we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, so we should have the same amount of stitches as this last row over here. Then when that half double crochet row is completed, we're going to do our following sedge stitch row. So get that started per usual, nothing fancy, until we have 2 stitches at the end of that sedge stitch row, and then I'll show you guys how to close off our sedge stitch row with no increases or decreases. And we all want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into the top of this first half double crochet row where we're not doing any increases or decreases. So we have just completed our non-increase and non-decrease half double crochet row and also made our way back up with our sedge stitch, leaving the last 2 stitches. Now just to close off this row, we're going to single crochet into that last stitch. So skip 1 stitch and into the last, insert with a single crochet, and that's it. All we're going to do from here is continue to repeat those 2 previous rows with no increases and no decreases still until we now have a portion that can reach over to mid-back. So we do just want to make sure that this point is still staying at mid-collarbone, making sure that this is stretching across our chest, placing the blunt end still roughly where an underwire would sit, and just stretching it across our side and over to our back. And we want to make sure that we're all meeting back right after an even number row. So we are back. The entirety of the back portion of our piece is completed. Now I have a total of 38 rows. My width is roughly 12.5 inches or 32 centimeters. And once we have 1 panel completed, we're going to be making a second one that is exactly the same. But once we finish up the second one, do not do a chain up 1 and cut, because then we can work straight into the back seam together from there. So once we have both panels completed, what we're going to do is place our 2 panels on top of each other and insert your hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then we're all going to yarn over, pull through everything, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then do a single crochet seam. So finding that first stitch into the front panel, insert, finding that first stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet. Again, next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert with another single crochet. And we're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way down. I'll meet you back so we can work straight into the bottom band together from there. Alright, so our single crochet seam is now complete. Now we're going to single crochet along the bottom of our piece and connect our 2 front panels as well. So what we're going to do is chain 1, which I have already done, and we're going to flip our work right side out, meaning we're looking at the front of our piece, so the seam is along the inside. Then all we're going to do is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row until we reach our stitch marker stitch. So just to get the first one started, this is my first side row, should be a side sedge stitch row for everyone, so find that top loop and insert with just 1 single crochet. This is my following side row, which should be a side half double crochet row, so I'm going to find that top loop and insert with 2 singles. There's 1 and then there's 2. Let's do that once more. This is my following side row, our side sedge stitch row. Find that top loop and insert with 1. Into that following side row, which is a side half double, find that top loop and insert with 2. Then I will meet you guys back once we're worked into the side row that is right before our stitch marker stitch. Alright, so we've made our way down from our seam down to our stitch marker stitch with our single crochets. Now what we're going to do from here is now fold our work in half, I guess, so that we can start to form our wrap. So making sure that our seam is along the top, once when we close it, the seam will be along the inside. We're going to take our side with not the working yarn, fold that in first, then take our side with the hook and then fold that over. Then what we're going to do, since our following stitch marker side row right here is a side half double crochet, we're going to do the same single crochets that we've been doing, but just working in through the other front panel as well. So just to get that started, I'm going to find my next side row, side half double for everyone, find that top loop and insert. I am going to take out my stitch marker because we don't need it anymore. And find the first side row within the other front panel, which should be that first side half double crochet row. Insert your hook into there. Then we're going to single crochet around everything once, and since it's a side half double crochet row, we're going to be doing another single crochet row into that same side row, working in through both of our front panels. So same top loop within the front, same top loop within the back. It should be a little bit easier since everything should already be gathered for us, and single crochet. Now everyone's side row should be our side sedge stitch row, so just 1 single crochet. So to do that together, we're going to find that next side row, find that top loop, insert, find the next side row within the back, which should be a side sedge stitch row, which is this one right here. Find that top loop and insert with just 1 single. Let's do another set of rows together. Everyone's following side row is a side half double. Insert your hook in through that top loop, in through the back panel's next side half double crochet row with 1 single, then into that same top loop with a second single, and then a single crochet row into that next side sedge stitch row, and then into that next side sedge stitch row within the other front panel, insert, and single. Now we're just going to continue doing this, making our way all the way around. Once we reach the point of this front panel, it should align with our stitch marker stitch within the back. Once when that happens, just continue on with the same single crochets that we've been doing, continuing to make your way all the way around. Now, just as a really quick tip, this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch, so once when it is completed, try your piece on. Make sure that everything fits nicely. If it's a little bit too loose, redo some stitches with a tighter grip, or if it's too tight, redo some stitches with a looser grip. So now that we've made our way all the way around with our single crochet row, we're now ready to get started on the length of our bottom band. So we have slip stitched into that chain space. What we're all going to do from here is make a chain the length that we'd like for the bottom band to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to do a slip stitch row. So start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So bring your hook down. Into that second chain, we're going to yarn over and gently pull through both loops on our hook. That's our first slip stitch. Let's do one more. Into that next chain, insert, yarn over, and gently pull through both, and continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain, remembering not to tug too tightly after every stitch, otherwise the following rows can be a little too tight to work into. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, we're going to connect it into the base. So how we're all going to do that is just find that next available stitch into the base and insert with a slip stitch. So just insert and pull through everything, but that slip stitch into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then we do need to work our way up to the following row as well, so slip stitch into that following stitch, still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. And now put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So finding that first stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert into that back loop now, then yarn over, pull through everything. Again, next stitch is back loop, yarn over, and still gently pull through everything. Continue with 1 back loop slip into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and I will meet you back at the end of our row 3 to connect it into the base together. We're now at the end of our row 3, and now we're just going to connect it into the base together once more. So it's going to be done the same way as our previous row, just finding that next stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, doesn't count as a stitch, and into that next stitch into the base as well, still doesn't count as a stitch. Flip our work and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Then I'll meet you back to seam it all together. So we are back, and we have made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows with no increases and no decreases. Now we're going to seam it up together. Now the seam is going to be an outside loop slip stitch seam to make it look like another slip stitch row. So let's get this started. Making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. We're going to insert our hook into that first stitch into the front panel, first stitch into the back panel, pull through. Then we're going to find that following stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop. First stitch into the back panel, inserting only into that back loop. And with the 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Let's do this again. Next stitch into the front panel, insert into that front loop. Next stitch into the back panel, insert into that back loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3, and that's it. We're going to continue doing this so we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that everything is all seamed up, the next thing we're going to do is just single crochet across the tops of our 2 front panels. As you guys can see, I've already gotten one side completed, so I'm going to do this front one with you guys. So first things first, we're all going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then, since we're working on the front one, we're going to be inserting our hook into the bottom stitch that we have that's nearest to the point of our front panel. Then all we're going to do is put 2 single crochets into every side row, and then 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have, making our way all the way up to the point. So what we're going to do is pull our working yarn through and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't actually count as a stitch. That is just to secure. And finding our first side row, it may be a little difficult to see, but it is the side half double crochet row right here. I'm going to find that top loop and insert starting with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, then into that same top loop with 2. Now everyone's next side row should be a side sedge stitch row, so find that top loop and insert with 2 single crochets as well. There's 1, and then there is 2. Let's do the next 2 side rows as well. This is my next side half double crochet row, so find that top loop and insert with 2 singles. There's 1, there is 2, and our next side sedge stitch row, find that top loop and insert with 2. So there's 1, there's 2. Now for everyone, we should all have a total of 8 stitches so far. Right after our first 8 stitches, we should have this little chunk of stitches right here. Should be 1, 2, 3 stitches. Simply put 1 single crochet into each of those stitches. So find that one, insert with 1 single, that next one with another single, and then that last one with a single crochet. And then from there, continue with 2 single crochets in every side double, 1 single crochet into every stitch until we make our way all the way up to the point. Then once we do a chain up 1 and cut, and then repeat what we did here on the other side. But since we want the front of the single crochet rows to be shown, for this back front panel, instead of inserting our hook into the bottom, we're going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch, then work our way down. But everything is going to be the same. Go ahead and get both sides completed, and then I'll meet you back. We are back. Our single crochet rows along both of our front panels are completed. Now we're just going to single crochet along the back and the edge, then make the chain for the strap, call it a day. So what we're all going to want to do from here is flip our work over, making sure that our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Insert your hook into the side row that we have that's nearest to the back seam. Then we're going to start with a single crochet row. So we're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. All we're going to do from here so far is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, starting with 1. So everyone's first side row should be this side sedge stitch row. We're going to find that top loop and insert with just 1 single crochet. Finding our next side row, which is our side half double crochet row, insert with 2. There's 1, and then there's 2. And I'll meet you back when we're worked into our stitch marker side row. Now we've made our way down, working into our stitch marker side row. Now from here, we're going to be putting 2 single crochets into every side row, making our way all the way up, and closing off this portion with 1 single crochet into every stitch. So I'm going to take this stitch marker out because we don't need it anymore, and find our first side row, which is this side sedge stitch row for me. So find that top loop and insert with 1, into that same top loop with a second, following top loop with 2 single crochets again, and just continue that till we reach this top corner stitch. So we've made our way all the way up the outside of our cup, and now we're going to make our chain the length of strap that we need it to be. But right before we do that, just because we want to make sure that this is a really nice sharp point, we're just going to slip stitch into that first stitch that we have along the top. So insert, pull through everything, just to make it look like it's all one clean row. Then we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like. We need to make sure to leave some extra slack because we are going to tie this into a bow, so I went ahead and measured mine out. I wanted roughly 15.5 inches or 39 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making chain 60, then cut. I have just completed my first strap. Now we're about to do the second one, which will be done a little bit differently than the first one, but it is going to be the same idea. So what we're going to do from here is start with our chain first because we still want to show the front of our single crochets. So I went ahead and made a chain for the same amount of chains that I made on the side. So for me, that was a chain 60. Now from here, all we're going to do is slip stitch it into this top corner stitch that we have into the top of that single crochet row. So just into that edge, insert with a slip stitch. Then from here, the single crochet row will be the same, working our way down the underarm first. 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then until we reach our stitch marker, 2 single crochets into every side row. Then once we reach the back panel, alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, then slip stitch into that chain space and do a chain of 1 and cut. And now that both straps are completed, we are all done. Last thing we have to do is weave in all of our ends. There you have it. Hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all on the next one. Bye!